So the other day, I got a bunch of books on fashion so I could study historical fashion for my webcomic, The Scourge of Ninepoint. Because it's a fantasy webcomic and it's set kind of in medieval times, like fantasy world, medieval times. So I wanted to know more about how clothing worked in the past. So I got this really great book called What People Wore When, which is it's a book all about clothing from ancient times to the 19th century. It mostly focuses on Europe and a whole bunch of different countries in Europe, not just say England, but it also shows a little bit from the Middle East and Asian cultures and North America. So yeah, it's a very cool book. I would recommend it. It's got lots of great reference of ancient clothing. Anyways, as I was reading through this book, I realized something. Wait, let me back up. So for Ninepoint, we want to do a style that, like I said, is very medieval, but pulls from other places of inspiration, other time periods for inspiration. Part of it is to, look cool, because aesthetic is very important for a comic. Anyways, so Bones, the writer of Ninepoint, has done a lot of research and planning into the world building. So he has pointed out, different time periods to pull from. He can give me the reasoning behind, his world building choices, but it's my job to do the actual, visual development of the world building, which led me to looking into the clothing. So anyways, like I said, as I was reading about medieval clothing, I ran into an issue that I had not thought of. So reading about medieval Europe, I found out that silk was introduced into Europe around the 11th century, according to this book. There was silk weaving in Spain and Italy, and silk was being imported from China. Man, I hope that's correct. I've only read one source on it, so who knows. Anyways, it led me to the realization that in the world of Ninepoint, they can't have silk. And the reason behind this is Ninepoint is set in a world that's based off the climate of Canada. So all the wildlife in it, the weather, the temperature, the flora, it is all Canadian. And we don't have silkworms in Canada, as far as I know. They're mostly across Europe and Asia and tropical regions. So that means no silk. So I had this dilemma. I want characters to wear really pretty clothes and dresses that are made of a silk material, but there's no way they can have silk in this world. So, I should also mention that in this world there's no possibility of trade with say countries that would have the climate of Europe or Asia. Right, so I want characters to wear these pretty silky clothing things. So I started to look into if there are other insects that can make silk or other materials that can make silk. So I was looking at the cocoons of other moths that are found in Canada, and are silkworms moths? I think they are. Anyways. And I also looked at spider silk. When I was doing my research, side note, I found out that there's this spider called the golden orb spider that has golden web, golden silk, and apparently they extracted all this silk from a bunch of golden orb spiders and made a golden scarf, and it's beautiful, and it's so cool. And apparently the way they harvested the silk didn't even hurt the spiders, so that's cool. I'm into that. I don't like spiders, guys, but golden orb spiders are pretty cool. Anyways, so I'm still researching if it's possible to make silk out of other materials in that climate of Ninepoint. But that leads me to the question, if it is not possible at all, do I do it anyways for the purpose of aesthetic? So immediately my thought is for some instances, it's okay to go by the rule of cool. So the rule of cool means even if something doesn't make sense in your world, if it's not possible in the world, or if it's impractical, say a suit of armor or something that's covered in, I don't know, spikes or something. Impractical, impossible, or weird for your world, you do it because it looks cool. That's the rule of cool. So yeah, do I follow the rule of cool, or do I try to make everything as realistic and grounded as possible in this fantasy world, where Bones has done a lot of looking at biology and animals native to Canada and flora native to Canada, and been really like deep into that and making sure everything's like as realistic as possible. I'm like, do I break the rules in this instance, or do I keep it with our like rigid to reality stuff? Right? It's a hard question. So I know I'm very worried about having an inconsistent looking world. Like, it's a hard line to walk. Because I know in my previous fantasy comic, Sovereign, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. Like, the clothing is weird, the buildings are weird, they ride around in flying sky ships that are really weird and don't work. Back then I did not know what I was doing. And I know personally I get annoyed when there's really weird inconsistencies, don't seem to make any sense in the world building. How did they fill this library of books when the printing press hasn't even been invented? I couldn't think of anything good. That's just the first thing off the top of my head. So yeah, what do? I guess as long as there's in-world explanations for what you're doing, because it's a fantasy world, so you can make some stuff up. So I guess as long as like you set the expectations right in your world, you can get away with it. So yeah, I'm still on the fence, deciding on if I should say whatever and do it anyways. I think I might. I do want those pretty dresses. I guess it's up to you if you want to do something because it looks cool versus like if it's impractical. It's your world. You built it. Do what you want. I guess just try to be consistent with your level of research and practicality. I mean, if for the most part you have stuff that's very grounded in reality that like the reader can connect with, or stuff that's just really well explained so the reader can understand what's going on, you can do a little like hand waving and direct them away from the man behind the yellow curtain, you know? It's okay to like make up some stuff as long as, you know, disbelief has been suspended. Okay, cool. Yeah. Moral of the story, do your research. You might realize that you can't have silk, and you'll be frazzled. So there you go. What do you guys do? Do you follow the rule of cool, or do you stay rigid to reality? Let me know. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to request a video topic, please leave a comment down below. I'll be handling all the art questions, and Bones will handle all the writing questions. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!